What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You're dead meat!
Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today, we're going to be looking at Munchies, released in 1987. Munchies is one of those Gremlin ripoffs, and if we were to exclude Critters and Ghoulies from the list, I think Munchies is probably the best Gremlins ripoff. It's an overly goofy and cheesy movie that knows exactly what it's doing. They weren't trying to be serious here. In fact, they wanted to make a decent Gremlins ripoff, and I think they succeeded pretty well. It was directed by Tina Hirsch, who didn't direct many movies. This was probably the only movie she directed. However, she was mostly an editor for movies, and guess what she edited? I guess editing a film with a bunch of goofy little monsters and it got to her head and she wanted to make her own mini monster movie. Her and everyone else involved with Munchies knew it was a ripoff and they wanted it to be a ripoff, hence why there's so many Gremlin references, and there's also some actors that would go on to be in Gremlins too, like Robert Picardo and Paul Bartle. Another thing I should mention is that Roger Corman was the producer of this movie, and he's known for horror movies like The Pit and the Pendulum and Carnosaur. How many people will the Munchies munch up during their tour? Let's find out. Get to the kills. The movie opens in the
Captain's Log, Stardate 2027.1. Dear Cindy, I am being held prisoner on a barren asteroid by the evil Klingon Emperor.
Oh, will you stop complaining?
Shit, I didn't know I was watching Star Trek. We meet our main character, Paul, who is on a trip to Machu Picchu, Peru with his father, Simon. Simon believes in the existence of aliens, and thinks that Machu Picchu has something to do with it, so he dragged Paul along with him to go search. They get help from the locals to translate this ancient text on a door to a temple they're trying to get into. They get inside the temple and find an ancient statue, and while they're in there, suddenly a little creature starts to run around the room. And eventually they corner it, and it's revealed to be a Munchie. Paul grabs his duffel bag and lays it next to the Munchie, hoping he'll climb inside. They also find this mysterious green liquid, which is never brought up again. The Munchie then climbs into the bag, and they head back outside. And then we cut to a title card! Paul and Simon arrive back in California, and they meet Paul's girlfriend Cindy at the airport. On their way back home, Cindy accidentally goes just a little bit over the speed limit, and then they're stopped by this goofy-ass cop, who is pretty much if Needlenose from Bride of Chucky was not a complete asshole. The cop, whose name is Eddie, walks over to the car and asks Simon how his little trip to Machu Picchu was, and asks him if he found any alien life. However, then he gets a little suspicious when the Munchie inside the bag begins to move around. However, they manage to slip away from Eddie for now. When they get back home, they're spied on by Simon's brother Cecil, who ironically both Simon and Cecil are played by Harvey Korman. In the house, Paul shows the Munchie TV, and they see one of Cecil's commercials, and it's really stupid, and thankfully both Paul and the Munchie agree with us on that.
Uncle Cecil, what a goof.
Cindy walks back in with some pork rinds, and they begin to feed the Munchie it, and that's why they gets the name Munchie, because Munchies like to eat a lot. They then decide to name the Munchie, and they name the Munchie Arnold, and I'm going to be referring to this Munchie as Arnold for the rest of this video. And Arnold is voiced by Frank frickin' Welker. Go look up his IMDb, man. He's done so much cool stuff, including Gremlins. And Simon then heads off to listen to some kind of lesson from this guy named Dr. Crowder. And then Cecil eavesdrops on them with a hidden microphone that is in Elvis's hand. And then Cecil heads out to have a chat with Simon, but Simon really doesn't care. In Cecil's house, we meet his really goofy stepson that's name is literally Dude. No joke, his name is Dude. It's in the credits, and they also call him Dude. Wow, what a great name choice. Cecil then forces Dude to help him go steal Arnold. Back with the other characters, Paul decides to give Arnold a, certain type of magazine. And Paul and Cindy then go upstairs for their own action, while Arnold yanks his chain in the background. And while Paul and Cindy are upstairs, Arnold tries to sneak in the bed with them. However, he's too old to sleep with his parents now. Cecil and Dude then sneak over to the house and find Arnold in the kitchen looking for a snack. Plan A is to simply try and run over and grab Arnold, but Arnold's way too quick for that shit. And then Plan B is to lure Arnold with some food, and this one actually succeeds. That's why Plan Bs are always better. They take Arnold back to their house, and we see the really good puppetry in this movie. For a low-budget movie, the puppetry here is really good. And Arnold also remembers Cecil from the commercials he saw earlier.
Hi, goof.
You guys know each other, huh?
Cecil then leaves to get his wife Melvis and decides to leave this idiot in charge of watching Arnold. But then Dude starts to be really rude to Arnold while he's just trying to play with some pool balls. And when Arnold tries to watch some TV, Dude grabs him and throws him at the wall. Arnold accepts it as a challenge and starts throwing shit at Dude, leading into a cartoony-ass fight. The fight quickly gets serious, however, as Dude uses a pole and stabs Arnold with it, which pisses off Arnold real bad.
Oh, you're not laughing anymore, are you, pal?
Dude runs over and grabs a rifle while Arnold keeps throwing shit at him, and the fight leads to the kitchen. Arnold manages to stab Dude in the leg with a screwdriver, but Dude also manages to shoot him with the rifle, which knocks him to the floor. While Dude tends to his injuries, Arnold is shown to be really hurt. However, suddenly the hole in his chest instantly regenerates and he jumps up to attack Dude once again. However, Dude grabs a knife and chops up Arnold into pieces. "Oh man, I just killed the creature my stepdad told me to take care of, but I need a sip of beer." We then cut to Cecil bringing Melvis back home, and there's our first Gremlin Easter egg right there on the newspaper. But then suddenly this happens.
One thing I'll never know, though, honey, is why you agreed to adopt that worthless kid when you left that no-contest of yours.
I don't know. I guess I just felt sorry for him because he was so ugly and stupid.
What the hell? Back at the house, Arnold's body begins to multiply into 3 new Munchies, bringing our new total to 4. And then we meet the new Munchies.
Rudy, how you feeling, man?
Leon, what'd I have to drink last night? I feel sick.
Hey, Rudy, where are we? Look at this kitchen. You ever see such an ugly kitchen? Ugh. Let's go. Come on.
And while Dude is listening to his music, the Munchies turn up the volume on his headset, which kills him for our first kill of the movie. Rest in peace, Dude. Your death was just as stupid as your name. Back with our other characters, they're trying to find Arnold, and eventually they head outside, where they hear a gunshot. They head over to find the Munchies using the rifle from earlier, and they try to sneak over to him. Paul then thinks of a genius plan.
Hey, fellas!
And Paul then sneaks over and uses a large trash can to trap the Munchies inside. I'm sure that will hold them.
It's like that for me.
Yeah, did you forget that they had a damn rifle? The Munchies point the gun at him and they hide behind the car, and Paul then steps out and tries to negotiate with them, and nearly gets shot. The Munchies then hop in an AMC Gremlin, that's another Easter egg, and the car also has a license plate that says Oh Gizmo on it. The Munchies then drive off, and Paul and Cindy hop in their car to chase after them. Arnold steers the car while another Munchie pushes the pedals, and the other 2 Munchies sit in the back and smoke and drink. However, while Paul and Cindy are chasing the Munchies, they're stopped by Eddie, which allows the Munchies to get away. However, Paul manages to trick Eddie by telling him that they're in the CIA and chasing after a criminal, and when Eddie offers to help, Paul sends him to a place called Golfland. With the Munchies, they shoot the speed limit sign and then get into a fight with a random old lady. Eventually, the old lady gets out of her car, and one of the Munchies points the gun out the window and shoots her car, blowing it up, and then they just leave.
Guess we shot her.
Hey, we're the Munchies!
Paul and Cindy ride up, and the little old lady lets them know where the Munchies went. Cecil and Melvis then arrive back home to find the house a complete wreck, and they also find Dude's dead body, but Cecil's more upset about his fish being killed. Back with the Munchies, they roll up on some bikers, and the bikers start flipping them off, and the Munchies don't like that too much, so they straight up run them off the road into a lake. Paul and Cindy then show up and ask the bikers where the Munchies went. Paul and Cindy then head up to Golf Island to find a pretty pissed off Eddie, and Cecil and Melvis then pull up to try and get help from Eddie. The Munchies then head up to a lake to find 2 ladies in there swimming, and they decide to do something really nasty. One of the Munchies manages to grab one of the ladies' panties and gets smacked in the face. Paul and Cindy then arrive at the lake, and Paul runs into the lake to attack the Munchies and manages to whack them out of the water. However, the Munchies then climb down a pipe. The pipe leads to an ice cream shop, where the Munchies climb out and meet this little kid named Buddy, and then we get a hilarious E.T. reference before Marge, the kid's mother, runs out in shock to see the Munchies. And as Arnold snaps at Buddy's fingers, his father, Bob, grabs a rifle and shoots one of the Munchies. They hide inside the ice cream shop, but the Munchies break through the window, but then they hide in the freezer. Paul and Cindy then arrive at the ice cream shop, and Bob nearly shoots Paul, but then he's attacked by one of the Munchies. And even though he's mauled pretty bad, Bob manages to survive. Paul kicks the Munchie out the door, and the rest of the Munchies follow after. Paul and Cindy then drop off Bob at the hospital and continue their pursuit on the Munchies. Paul and Cindy head back home and try and find some information about the Munchies in an ancient book. And meanwhile, the Munchies are at Golfland having a party with all the fun stuff there. Meanwhile, back at the house, Cecil tries to comfort Melvis, and suddenly we meet Eddie's father, Big Ed. Cecil tells Big Ed to not let the creatures get to his little underground facility under like a little Blockbuster video store, because it's where he stores his toxic waste, which he makes his snacks. Gross. Paul and Cindy then head over, and Paul tries to explain to Cecil that he can help him get rid of the creatures, but Cecil doesn't want to hear any of it. And then Melvis remembers that they need to go to Golfland for the little ceremony that's going on because of the grand opening. Later at Golfland, Cecil opens up the park to everyone. And then we get a little montage of the Munchies messing with people at the park. And then Bob is attacked by a Munchie again. And then when some kids are trying to steal some maps, they're attacked by a Munchie. Paul, Cindy, and Eddie head in, and Eddie tells his father they need to fight off the Munchies. And then they find the Munchies in like a little castle, and they manage to shoot one down. The rest of the Munchies fight back and start throwing ping pong balls at everyone, but then Cecil grabs some shears and manages to cut one up into pieces, but it just causes it to multiply again. Paul, Cindy, and Eddie then head over to the video store, while Cecil, Melvis, and Big Ed try and beat him there, but they end up stopping at a Burgerland restaurant because of Melvis and Big Ed's request. When they get to the video store, the Munchies start throwing DVD cases at them, but one Munchie ends up getting hit and knocked into a TV, which electrocutes it, which turns it to stone. Yeah, that's the Munchies' weakness. Lightning turns them into stone. And as the Munchies escape, Paul crushes the statue for our first Munchie kill of the movie. The trio climbs down the ladder into Cecil's little toxic waste facility and start heading down to find the Munchies. They then decide to split up, with Paul going by himself and Cindy going with Eddie. We then cut to the Burgerland place, and the manager of the store starts to become an asshole to his workers because they're little people. However, he gets his karma when he's attacked and killed by the Munchies and dragged off screen. Wait a minute, I thought the Munchies were in the underground place. How the hell did they... whatever, I'll count it. The three then head inside, and the power cuts off for a second, and when it comes back on, Cecil's pants have been cut to shreds. Back in the underground place, Eddie gets knocked out somehow, and Cindy helps him, and then says that they can go study together because it's pretty obvious Eddie has a crush on her. But then she just leaves him laying there. And on her way back to Paul, she's attacked by the Munchies. And Cindy then starts running away from the Munchies as they chase after her. Cecil and the others somehow arrive to the underground place, and they head inside an elevator. The elevator opens up on the floor where Cindy is, and she tries to get help from them, but they shut the door right in her face. And the Munchies then chase her up another ladder. One Munchie then uses some wire cutters and cuts the wires to the elevator, and it shuts down power, leaving them trapped there in the darkness. Cindy then runs into a room and accidentally locks herself inside. The other Munchies then leave, but one Munchie stays behind to try and get inside to Cindy. Paul then climbs up the ladder and finds the Munchies crushing themselves under a machine to cause them to multiply to become larger. To stop this, Paul runs over and unplugs the cable connected to the machine. The Munchies then start attacking Paul by throwing things at him, and Arnold uses a disc shooter. Paul then grabs a fire axe and uses it to break open a wire to use as a weapon. Back with Sydney, the Munchie is nearly broken into her room, and then she grabs a shovel and bonks it upside the head, and apparently it kills it because we don't see this Munchie ever again, so I'll count it. Back with Paul, the wire ends up getting stuck, but thankfully for him, Arnold's disc shooter is out of discs. Paul manages to get the wire free and slams it against a conveyor belt, which freezes all of the Munchies on there, and Cindy then frees herself from the locked room. And Paul then proceeds to smash all the Munchie statues, and from the best long shot we get, I counted 8 Munchies here. Paul and Cindy then hug, but then Paul is suddenly attacked by Arnold, who is revealed to still be alive. Paul then throws Arnold at the electrical wire, and it transforms him into a statue. They take the statue and decide not to destroy it, so Paul can give something to Simon. Back in the elevator, Cecil manages to turn on the emergency lights to find Melvis cheating on him, but he didn't notice. Eddie then wakes up and heads over to the elevator and opens it for them. Paul and Cindy then walk over, and Paul shows Eddie and Big Ed all the toxic waste that he makes his snacks here, and Cecil and Melvis are arrested. Later, Paul and Cindy arrive back home, and they give Simon the statue. Dr. Crowder is impressed with the statue and accepts Simon's offer. And the movie ends with Dr. Crowder placing the statue on the back of his truck, and the statue being struck by lightning, indicating that it will come back to life. How many people did the Munchies munch up? Let's find out. Get to the numbers. Two people died in Munchies, and they were both male. Alongside that, we had 10 Munchie deaths. Golden Chainsaw doesn't have many options, but I guess I'll give it to the Burgerland manager who got dragged off screen, because I guess we can imagine something terrible happening to him. And Dull Machete for Worst Kill has a lot of options, but I'll give it to the Munchie that gets killed by the shovel. It was proven how durable these things are, and I don't know how that one got killed by being hit by a shovel. And that's it. Munchies came out in 1987, and I think it's a really fun movie. Next time, we'll be looking at Jeepers Creepers, but until then, I'm Hardcore Fan. See you next time.